Hello, and welcome to the Casino Tears podcast. I'm one of your hosts, 10 Ton is number one, and joining me as my co-host is the one and only Ed Robinson from Roll to Win Craps. If you want more info on our show, please visit our page at casinotears.com. On this week's show, we discuss Atlantic City, Dice Degen, younger players, East Coast style. We also touch on center action, the 5 count, Golden Touch, Valley Forge, Poarch Creek, King of Prussia, and Ed's go-to get right game.
You're always on time when we've got somebody else with us.
I know, right?
It's me you don't give a shit about. There's the Degen.
I like it, man. Little Dice Degen action. It's great to see it. Hey, Dice Degen, I turned this lamp here, this color. I figured it would be very Dice Degen colors.
I like it. It looks good. Good color.
He's always worried about how people see him during an audio presentation.
I wore my Casino Tier shirt just for this to not be seen on camera, so it's great.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I'm gonna wear them in Vegas tomorrow.
Ed's heading out here tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Safe travels. Good luck, my friends.
Dice Degen, that's why I was actually on time. I was just telling Ed, I'm never on time, ever, except when there's a guest. You want to just jump right into it. The reason why you're here, you're going to be our first official Atlantic City.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your daily program for this special announcement from Dice Degen, located in the great state of Pennsylvania, but he always plays in Atlantic City.
Dice Degen, I kind of like that. That's what you get here with Ed.
I'm honored, first of all, to be on, but Ed, wow. I mean, I think you have a future profession in announcing people, maybe emceeing or something.
Dice Degen, I did not know. Why did I think that you lived in Jersey for some reason? Maybe it's because you're Italian and you used to live in Jersey?
Italian, yes. Used to live in Jersey, no. I do have a second house in Jersey, so if that makes you feel a little bit better, I cohabitate both states, but from PA, born and raised, from Philadelphia area. Shout out Meek Mill. Grew up here whole life, but I do spend a lot of time in Jersey, so that's why I frequent Atlantic City a lot. Plus, it's on the way to my parents' house, so it's nice and easy to get there.
Why I really wanted to have you on is because, and I think Ed will agree with me, most demographics for craps players skew older. And you happen to be, ever since I've been aware of you, which has been way before this podcast even started from your YouTube channel, you are one of the younger players playing the game. Not to reveal your age, but I'm just assuming you're in your early 30s.
27.
Wow, you are younger than I would have ever guessed. Wow, that is awesome.
I got grandkids almost that old.
Yeah, I'm 27. It's funny that you mentioned that. So I actually started the channel to try to hit my age group for the most part. And obviously, yes, I do have, an older crowd at times, but like if you look at my breakdown on my demographics, who watches my videos, who subscribed, I'm vastly different than most of the YouTubers out there. A lot of people have, an older demographic, 45 plus. I have 60% of my viewers under the age of 45, which is good to me because that was the whole reason why I actually made the channel, was to try to reach younger people, grow the game of craps through reaching younger people. And I was watching so many times at the casino because I fell in love with the game pretty quickly. And I'd watch so many young people think, they could do X, Y, and Z at the craps table, not have a proper bankroll to do it, not have any clue on what they're playing, and just watch ATM trips relentlessly, just continuous 100 from the ATM. On the table, lose it. And I was like, I got to do something about this. I think it also stems too from, the negative connotation that my age group does have with listening to people. We don't really like to listen to people who are older than us, which is unfortunate, I think. But if somebody who is, let's say in your 50s or 60s is kind of talking and, I don't know what this old head's saying, whatever. Maybe I thought if I'm the one saying it, maybe somebody will listen. And if one person listened, I'd be happy. But it seems like, more people are starting to listen and there's more craps literacy at the tables, which is really good to see. I like to see it a lot. It's great when, people recognize me at the casino and like I can tell they're younger. And I'm like, oh, like I'm glad, that, you found value in something that was said. That also helps push them to other channels, right? They're not just watching mine, but they're watching other people's channels. they're learning different strategies. They might be, oh, I want to try to, learn how to throw the dice. Let me go look over at Edge Channel or something like that to really get educated on things. But yeah, I'm young.
Dude, Dice Degen, that's really awesome. It makes sense looking at you because you look so young. You are the most knowledgeable, youngest craps player that I know, officially. I don't know any craps players that are playing like this in their 20s, Ed. Do you?
I don't know. No, no. All my demographics are getting their Social Security cut by Doge. I mean, so, I mean, I think I've got like two people, and probably one of them is Dice Degen that are under 30 now that I know.
Man, that's even more impressive. I'm so happy, dude, that you're joining us because that was even before I met Ed, my initial unofficial mission statements was to get a new generation of players in. But it just seems that this game has a natural appeal. It skews older. Ed, why is that?
I mean, I started in my 30s, but maybe it's because the older people have disposable income. I don't know.
That could be it. It could be a function of having more disposable income and going to the casinos and not going there just to necessarily party at beach clubs and at places like that. Because I stumbled on the game because I was in casinos playing poker events.
Right.
Maybe if I wasn't there and slowly figured it out, maybe that's why. But again, that's Vegas. You're out in AC, and the whole AC scene is a bit different. I guess before we get into it, though, Ed, you've played in AC.
I've played with him.
Oh, wow. Nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But have you been there a ton, Ed?
No, I've been there one time.
Okay. I was touring, sightseeing, and it didn't seem too of a friendly place when I was there, but this was a long time ago. I just know there's about 9 casinos. 3 of them are more so in the marina area. It's just a different vibe than walking down on the boardwalk.
Yeah, so there are 9 casinos. There used to be more. They've been slowly, some of them have been closing. Some of them have been transitioning into other things, like, for example, the Showboat turned into like an indoor water park now. So there's 9 currently. Like you said, 3 are in the Marina District, what they call. So that's, Harris, MGM, Borgata, and then the Golden Nugget. So those 3 are in like the Marina area. You can see all 3 from each other. Technically, you can walk to each one of those. I would highly advise against that because you do have to walk across roadways and highways and like 4-lane roads and stuff. Technically speaking, you can walk it. The walk from Harris to the Borgata is not too bad. That's just across like a field and a parking lot, so it's not awful. Yeah, so there's 3 in the marina, and then there's 6 on the boardwalk. Ocean, I would say, is the nicest hotel out of all of them. I was there this past weekend. I love that hotel. Gorgeous hotel. It's the newest of all of the casinos in Atlantic City. It's on the far end of the boardwalk. So much like Vegas, people think the walk between casinos is not that far. Atlantic City's the same thing. You think it's not far, and then you start walking, and you're like, damn, that's a distance. So there's 6 on the boardwalk. Ocean would be my top one on the boardwalk, followed by Hard Rock. Hard Rock is another very nice casino to stay at. Food there, great food options. Same thing at Ocean. The only problem with Hard Rock occasionally is the table minimums for people who are looking for lower tables. Hard Rock is usually at a quarter. You may find a $15 game there occasionally, but more often than not, it's going to be at a quarter level. Their tables last time I was there were trampolines, so I avoid them at all costs. But they do have crapless there, so if you're a crapless fan, Hard Rock is good for that. But yeah, Ocean on the boardwalk would be my favorite casino. I just played there for the first time in a while, actually, last weekend, and I fell in love with that place again. Nice 12-foot tables. Good bounce, not super hard, but not trampoline-y. Great surface overall. It matches my table here pretty closely. Looking to play there a lot more. They used to have trampolines there. You couldn't even keep the dice on the table if you tried. That's why I stopped playing there, was because, as someone who's trying to influence the dice in some way and, have a controlled toss, that was not the place to do it. But they've changed it. Looks-wise, amenity-wise, it's certainly my top casino in Atlantic City.
How many tables are there?
So they have 4 tables in their main pit, and then they have 2 tables kind of off to the side that you can play at. Those 2 are typically not open. The ones in the main pit would be open. More often than not, though, 2 or 3 are open. Rare currently are all four open. When we were there this past weekend on a Saturday, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they had two tables open, both $15. One was crapless, one was traditional craps.
Wow, $15. That's surprising, right?
Yeah, and they have $10 games too.
Wow.
They have them on like during the week. You can find a lot of $10 games in Atlantic City. The weekends are tougher. In the mornings, you can, but once the tables get a little crowded, they start raising the limits. And in Atlantic City, at all the casinos, right, there's usually one table open in the morning. And then around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, then they start opening more tables. Once they start opening more tables, that's when you start seeing limits go up.
Do they have the feature bets at the Oceans?
Their version of the all tall small. I don't think it's called the all tall small there. It's
shallow end, deep end.
yeah. No, Atlantic City's funny. Like a lot of those casinos, I mean, with licensing and stuff, some of them have, the small boom, big boom, little boom, or whatever they call them. They have a version of the ATS if it's not the actual ATS, and it's the 30 and 150 to 1.
Do any of them have repeater bets, fire bets?
No repeater bets in Atlantic City that I know of. Some casinos do have the fire bet. Harris is one of them. Resorts has it as well. I think that's it. Most of the tables are going to be ATS tables, and the ones at like Resorts and Harris that are fire bet are only fire bet. There's no fire bet and ATS tables. It's only one feature bet on the table.
When I was there on the boardwalk side, the best table I found was at Caesars. But I didn't go to a lot of places. I mean, I stayed at the Tropicana, which are 14-footers. I remember going down an escalator, and there was a craps table on my right somewhere, maybe a pit. But there was a table there that I actually liked a lot. A good 12-foot table.
Caesars has the most tables out of all the casinos in Atlantic City. I think I counted 9 when I was there.
That's a lot, yeah.
They've actually moved some of their tables around. So, like you said, when you're coming down that escalator, all the craps tables used to be straight ahead to your left. They had them just all right there. Now they've moved some to be on your right-hand side where all the blackjack, roulette, all that kind of stuff was. So they've shuffled the games around a little bit. So now they have craps tables in both areas. So there's 3 tables on the right-hand side of the escalator, and then the other 6 are straight out from the escalator. They do have good tables, relatively hard surface. I wouldn't say it's very hard, but it's relatively hard, leans more hard. They have a lot of 14-footers there now. They don't have a lot of 12-footers, and I'm not a big 14-foot table fan. Like you said, at the Trop has the hardest tables I've ever seen in my life. Those things are like plywood with the surface right on top. I mean, you can hear those dice crack from across the casino.
Yeah, and the problem is they're 14-foot.
Yep, and they're wool surface too.
Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, they're not the traditional, like microfiber, the micro suedes that you see around. They're wool. So those tables with new dice, they dig and they dig hard.
That'll show every flaw in your toss real quick.
I got warned twice this past weekend there.
Really?
About throwing dice to the back wall because my dice were just digging in. I was landing them right at the don't pass, and they weren't moving past that.
Wow. That might be a good thing if you get a little extra inch or two in there.
That's what she said.
I was waiting on that. I was waiting on that. 10-ton, this guy has got a great throw.
Nice.
I made money on him. Were we at?
The Nugget.
We were at the Nugget when you had that long
I love those
roll.
tables too. Mm-hmm. Love the Nugget.
I think you hit the ATS while we were there, or you were really, really close. You hit one side. I can't remember now.
Hit the tall, and I was 3 away from the small. And I only remember that because I was playing with you.
You remember, tell 10-ton what I said when the first time we played at Harrah's that morning.
So we're playing on the table at Harris. It's rarely open, right? So at Harris, they have 5 tables, and it's like a horseshoe type setup, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like one table, horseshoe type. And the one table, it's rarely ever open. Ed's at stick left 1, I want to say. I was at stick right 2. And, the whole crew's there. We're playing. Ed gets the dice. And all I know is, Ed, qualify your shooter, right? And I'm like, I've seen Ed shoot enough. I'm not worried about this at all. So I go out there with my normal thing. Ed's first toss on his come out roll, I don't even think it hit the 12 in the field. And he goes, oh shit, these tables are long.
It was long.
Are the majority of tables then in AC the 14-footers? Because that's more or less, not common here. I can only think of a few: Luxor, Fountain Blue.
I'd say it's 50-50. Harris is 14 foot, Trop is 14 foot, Hard Rock is 14, Caesars
Damn.
mostly 14, Bally's is 14. That's 5 right there. That's over 50% of the tables are 14
Wow.
footers. Borgata's also 14. Borgata has a 16-foot table too, I think. Last time I was in there, I'm pretty sure they had the aircraft carrier sitting out there.
Party boat.
Yeah, exactly. That table's long. The Borgata tables feel really long. But yeah, they're 14 footers. So yeah, I would say 14 footers are more common than the 12 footers in Atlantic City.
You think that's because they're used to having bigger crowds and they just want more people on a table?
I do think so. And they're good about packing the table. 12 footer, you're getting 6, possibly 7 aside. 14 footer, there's people waiting to get on. They'll pack 8 to a side and they'll try to squeeze a 9th in if they can.
Man, Ed,
No, thank you.
That does not sound fun for me at all. I mean, there's probably a ton of delays just getting the dice.
Yeah, there are, and I think Ed was saying it on the last podcast with a lot of the center action that happens in Atlantic City. It's relentless. Late bets too are a big problem with the center action, right? So sticks got the dice, they're going to the shooter, and horn high this, hop this, hard this, and I'm like, the dice are already out. Specifically at Harris, you see this a lot. I'm sure you see it at other casinos, but I tend to play at Harris a lot because that's where a lot of the group likes to play. You see it constantly. Like during the 5X weekend a couple weeks ago, we were waiting almost 3-4 minutes in between rolls.
Man, you know what? That brings up something. So we did talk about this on the last show.
Yep,
you brought it up about an East Coast. How would you describe it? Not necessarily a playing style, which is very different.
It just seems to me like everybody learned it from the same guy and they just kept passing it on down the line. I mean, it's the way it seemed to me. It's like Dad taught me to play this way because his brother taught him to play this way. And, his step-granddaddy told him how to play that way. I mean, it was just, I see the same type of style of betting over and over and over. If you get on some of these little deals with private tables and these private hosts are bringing in people from around the country, as soon as they start bringing in a group from New Jersey, they all bet alike. There's a lot of center action. And you're sitting there going, they're going to lose their ass. And then at the end of the day, y'all have all made the same kind of money. I mean, it's kind of weird how it works.
When you say center action, I know some people might not know what that means, even though we take it for granted.
Well, they're not only playing the hard ways, they'll throw in a horn high this or a horn high that, and then they'll hop some other number out of the blue, that, I don't know. It's just weird. I try not to focus on it. Chris can tell you more about it than I can.
Yeah, they got the high lows coming in constantly, crap check this. Like you said, horn high this, hard ways, hop the hard ways, tossing a nickel, hard ways high on the hard 10. It's incessant and it's really frustrating. Like I said though, right? You see these guys and you're like, this guy's gonna lose his ass.
Right.
And more often than not, they do. But every once in a while, you see one of these guys who, minimum bet on the 6 and the 8. And just high-low repeatedly, just constant. And then, somebody goes on a little run of horns, and this guy's raking in 2K in a blink of an eye. And you're like, wow, I wish I had the stones to do that. But then you're like, well, I would have left when I was up that $2,000. And then you watch him do the same thing for another 20 minutes, and that $2,000 goes to zero real quick.
Yep.
Interesting. I've only seen that. It sticks out. I saw it at Aria. And there was a guy and he just kept betting, but it was big. It was like $50, $25. It was just nonstop. And those were his only bets. And it stuck out to me because it was such an unusual thing to keep seeing. And he hit it. Big payday. Then he kept doing it. You're right. It's interesting. So with that playing style, I guess you'd say it's more of an old school type playing style. Or are they betting come bet with odds? Is that how their main line play goes?
No, they're betting box numbers and doing all that wild stuff in the middle.
The center action's their main play.
Really?
Believe it or not.
That's their main play.
Oh my God.
So many of them do the weirdest thing. I mean, they're throwing all this money out there and they'll do something like 2-1-2 on the all tall small. Go figure.
Or like table minimum on like I'm saying, table minimum on a 6 and 8. Like you see a guy, $10 table has got $12 on the 6 and the 8, and he's throwing $100 center action every roll.
That's fascinating. That is, I never even thought about. So that's their main, where their action is.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, you pray it doesn't hit because them doing it slows down the game enough. When it starts hitting, then you have a problem because The payouts on it are slow, right? I know the sticks go in the paying. Most of the dealers are good that they have it already cut out. It's not even the crew problem. It's a player problem that they don't know what their next move is with that bet, because you'll hear them say, press it. Press what? How much are we pressing? Like, what are we doing with the press? And then they're like, press it. Well, all right, fine. You just hit aces straight up for $150. Am I putting all 150 on the aces? No, no, no. I want $5 more on the aces. Well, why didn't you just say press it a nickel? That whole thing slows the game down so much. And that's also why you see big delays in between rolls, is because there's a lack of knowledge of what they're going to do when it hits. You would think they would know because they're doing it on every single roll.
And here I was thinking about going back to Atlantic City, and you done talked me out of it again.
So is the player type in general in AC? Because obviously here, Vegas, we go downstairs and there's tons of people just coming in town that aren't necessarily craps players. Most of them aren't the casual recreational player. Would it be fair to say, or am I making an assumption that the local casinos here in Vegas would be more like the casinos in AC? Are there more just grinders out in AC playing craps, or are there tourists playing recreationally?
A lot of tourists playing recreationally, a lot of tourists. And you see a lot of bachelor parties too. Bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. I mean, you go on a weekend, any casino in Atlantic City, like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, you might see half a table squatted up by bachelor party, bachelorette party. They're splitting $200 between the six of them. No clue what they're doing. Not the slightest clue. Like, they don't know the first thing to do on a table. They don't even know what the difference between the pass line, don't pass is. You have the dealers explaining to them what's going on. I mean, there's some like serious players. Like during the week, honestly, is probably the best time to go. You get your regulars who are playing. They know exactly what they're doing. It's the same. The crews all know them, right? So like, when I go on a weekday, the crew basically knows everybody at the table by name, and it's not because we hand them our player's card, right? They know exactly what you're doing to the point where I'm not even telling them what happens when my six hits. They're cutting it out already. They know what's going, and they're giving me my change. And like, there's no words exchanged. They'll be like, Chris, you're normal. And I'm like, yep.
So you go out there, and Ed, a ton of people. There's a whole AC crew. I only really talk to a couple people that play. Mostly I talk to Nakatomi Tony. He goes out there regularly, plays over at Oceans. I know he's played with you once up there at Dice Degen, but I mean, there's a whole regular group, right? With Jeff, Obey Craps, Sweet Lou.
Yep. Sweet Lou's there all the time. Ted, Midnight Train, he's there all the time.
Oh yeah, special delivery. Yeah.
Special delivery. Yeah. There's a lot of people in the crew. You can find somebody there almost every day of the week, honestly. A lot of people are there, they're firing off messages in the group like, oh, I'm going to AC today, like anybody around. So yeah, there's a good amount of people. And then we're a social group, right? So we talk to other players at the table that we see regularly. At any given time, I could walk into, a Harris or a Caesars or a Trop and probably know half the people at the table. And it's good. When you don't know the people at the table, that's when you start seeing a lot of the center action, a lot of the, BS that goes on.
When was the last time you were in Vegas? Within a year?
No, 2023.
Okay, so it's been a minute, and it's not like it's been 5 years.
No, a year and a half.
Do you prefer Vegas or AC?
Honestly, I prefer Vegas for the sole purpose that the casinos in Vegas are a lot closer. I think you have more options in a Vegas than you do in Atlantic City. Obviously, yes, there's 9 casinos. If you're staying on the boardwalk, you can go to multiple casinos. But I feel like just the atmosphere in Vegas is a little bit better. I know you said, you have a lot of recreational players, a lot of tourists, but I feel like the quality is slightly better in Vegas than in Atlantic City. I mean, they're relatively comparable. I just think for, ease of play and options, Vegas is better for that perspective. They're relatively similar, though, for the most part.
There's a lot of Golden Touch people up in the Jersey area. Do you know?
And you can spot them
a
mile away.
Oh, yeah. I know that.
Interesting.
There is a big, big group of them. I mean, there's tons of them.
Mm-hmm.
I played with a few of them even in Biloxi, I played with a few of them. How do the dealers deal with them there?
But Ed, first of all, this is like out in the wild. I'm spotting the golden-tailed, dove. Like, how do you, okay, first of all, what do you mean by a golden touch for people that are listening? Golden touch players, that is obviously a whole group of people that have learned how to play craps from the golden touch school of thought.
Class dominators, folks.
Yeah, that sort of coaching tree, so to speak.
Yeah.
What type of
Yeah.
player is that? Since they are out there.
Well, I mean, they're all, I mean, all of them I've ever met are great people, but you can spot them by the way that their mannerisms, the way they've been coached. They're going to sit there and they're going to tap the table and get their fingers all at the same level, before they pick up the dice, and they're going to pick them up, and they're going to turn them, and they're going to lift them up 3 inches off the table, and then they're going to do their little swing.
Most of them set in a 3V.
Yeah, or 3V or a hard way, one of the two.
You can spot the golden-tailed craps player.
Yeah,
out
and
there.
then when they're not, but when they're on a table with other people, in Vegas, for example, I know that a lot of the Vegas dealers do not like a fresh class coming into their casino because they're all doing the 5 count.
Mm-hmm. And standing in a prime shooting position.
Yep, and they're not betting and they're not shooting.
Let's review the 5 count. I don't think we've ever even mentioned that in how many episodes, Ed? 57 episodes. I don't think we've ever mentioned the 5 count.
You wait 5 rolls before you throw a bet out there, and it's a DC.
I could not.
See, I always thought it was a come bet.
Or a come bet. I think it's either one. I've always seen a DC, so I don't know.
In my mind, if you're going to wait, if you're doing it by, and that's, this goes back to the captain and all that garbage that Scabletti wrote, but you wait 5 tosses before you make a bet. And when you make your first bet, it's a come bet because you're expecting the 7 on the 6 roll.
Okay.
Man,
I've seen a couple of them do DCs, just what I've seen.
Are they worried to leave their house? They might get in an accident or something. Wait, so you are waiting. We got to get one of these guys on the show, dude. We got to get someone from the Golden Touch School of Craps on here. So you are literally taking up stick left one of the prime spots, and you are waiting 5 tosses before you even make a bet. And then that bet is usually going to be a scaredy cat comeback, right?
Yeah, or he said DC, so I could be wrong. I just assume they're looking for the 7. I know they're waiting on the 7 to come soon, so that's why I thought, well, maybe they're just going to do a come bet and see if they get a 7 right then on the 6 toss. I don't know, but I could be wrong.
I've seen it both ways. I've seen them because, like you said, they're rare, but they're easy to spot. And if you know how to spot them, it's like a hunter. You're sitting in your blind and you see them from a mile away, and you're like, oh, that's a golden touch guy.
Let's capture them.
No, I will say I've never had a problem with them. They're very, very nice people. More often than not, they don't talk at all. They're just in their zone, sitting there, waiting for the dice to come back to them. And then when they get the dice, I mean, you would think like the degenerate switch flipped in them, and they're going. They're betting on themselves.
Respect.
Yeah, you ever run into Ron the Don out there?
I've heard, but I haven't actually personally done it. But I know a couple of the guys in the group do quite often.
Okay. It's Kay and her husband. I'm not going to mention their last names. They're great people.
Yeah. I've talked to them a few times. Yeah.
I've played with them. I mean, I'll bet on either him or her, but I'm not going to wait 5 tosses. And they don't either.
I always bet on the Golden Touch guys. They're great shooters more often than not. I mean, obviously we're still qualifying the shooters, so I'm not going to go out there for something ridiculous on them, but they're getting a bet just as much as, other people are. Again, they're usually very, very consistent. Like you said, right? It's that 3 inches off the table, the swing, and it's, the same motion almost every time. I mean, it's usually very pretty to watch. When one of them gets in a groove, I mean, you hammer the numbers. There was a guy one time at the Trop. It was Old Bay, Jeff, and me at the table. This guy was at stick left 1. I was at 2. Craig was at 3, and Jeff was in the hook. This guy was just banging numbers. He was ATS hunting, basically, just banging numbers. And he only needed the 2, 3, 11, and 12. So he switched his set, and he was just horn hunting the entire time. So we're all sitting there just watching it happen. And this guy, $20 horn, hits a horn, parlays it, hits another one. And I'm looking at Craig. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, let's start getting on the horn. So then Craig and I start throwing horn bets out there, and he's just hitting them left and right. Jeff's like, oh, I don't want to copy you guys. I'm going in the field. So he goes in the field. Craig and I are on the horns. I mean, I was down like $600 in this session. This guy on horn bets alone brought me back and into positive and like plus 400 when he finally sevened out. He hit the tall, he was missing the aces, and he never hit the aces. But he was hunting. I mean, this guy had $800 horn out there at one point.
Nice.
Ooh, nice little hit. If he could hit it. Feldman, Michael
Yeah.
Feldman is he's a Golden Touch guy, former coach, actually.
Yeah, they're again good people, and they can throw pretty good.
Dominator kind of, I don't know, that's his home territory, more or less. So I guess that's where he does most of his classes and stuff now, I guess.
Yeah, they have quite a few classes there. I know Special Delivery sends them to us all the time. You know, when they're having a Golden Touch class in Atlantic City.
Was he a Golden Touch person?
He's been to at least one of their classes, if not a couple.
Okay. I was trying to think of somebody else I ran into, but the name is escaped. Hardway, is it Hardway Jack?
Hardway
What are you-
Jack. What a name.
What is
Hey,
his name?
I don't know.
He-
That's a
He
good
loves
one.
me. If he
Hardway
sees a
Jack.
Hardway man, he goes all in on Hardways. What the heck is his name?
Hardway Harry would be a good one.
No, it's Hardway Jack, I think. I could be wrong about the Jack part, but I ran into he and his wife at Paris
Mm-hmm.
Casino, and I was playing with Banker Dude, and Banker Dude never puts a pass line on anybody but himself. And I looked down there, and he had a pass line bet down, and it really got my attention. But this lady on the other end of the table had the dice. I asked him, I said, kind of mouthed to him, you know her? And he went, oh, yeah. And it was Hardway's wife, our girlfriend, whatever. And I threw out money on the ATS real quick, put my pass line down to cover it. She hit the small, just boom, 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 boom. Just nailed it. She needed an 11 to finish it out. And I got to watch her, and she started changing her dice sets. I said, she's hunting the 11. And I started betting $10 yos. Next thing you know, she's done hit the yo, knocked that ATS out.
Nice. The mechanic,
So-
man.
Oh, that lady had it figured out.
So listen, man, do you think, because you're going out there with a lot of people, when you go play, Degen, are you just rolling out solo or a couple times a month where you're going to go meet up? I guess it's like pretty much you kind of have a crew. How often do you guys do that as a group? Is it once a month, once every couple months?
It's usually, let's say, once a month, once every other month for like, a full group meetup.
Yeah.
There's people there all the time. So you'll see, 2 or 3 guys there on any given weekend, any given day. For multiplier weekends at like Caesars, the whole crew is usually there, or 75% of them are there, to the point where, we're trying to squat a table if we can. So, we talk to the pit boss, which table's opening next. And immediately all of our cards are around the table. As soon as that table's open, it's, our group ready to just buy in on that table, which is nice because it's basically a private table with our crew. I mean, I go down there more often than not with like a smaller group. So like, if I'm going down, I'm like, hey, anybody down or anybody going down on these days? Usually there's a few people who will go down. Meetups, multiplier weekends are when you see a lot of people, or like a holiday weekend. It's nice. I mean, the group is great. A lot of camaraderie between us. We're going dinner afterwards and just hanging out. One of the guys usually has a suite, and we'll go hang out in his suite for a while.
That's cool.
Shoot shit, have a couple
Yeah.
drinks, and just hang out. All the wives get along great. That's also nice because, they leave us alone and we just go to the tables and they all hang out and, do what they do. So it's good. It's good. That's why I go down there mainly is, to see people.
Yeah.
If I'm just looking to go by myself, I'll go to my local and call it
Are
good.
you the youngest in that whole group?
Yeah, by far.
Man, that's impressive, Ed. I still think that's impressive.
There's a couple of guys in there like late 30s, or mid 30s, late 30s, early 40s. People will tell you, they have kids older than me.
I need to introduce you to 220 Inside. He just moved to Philly.
Yeah, I heard you mention him on the last podcast. Definitely have to make an introduction there. Because you
Yeah.
said he plays a lot in the Philly area, right?
He was in the Boston area for years and years and years, but he's originally from the Philly area. He just closed on a house. I don't know where he's at. Where's Wind Creek in relation to you?
Bethlehem, it's like 45 minutes from me.
I think has played there some already.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys who I know who play there.
Do you know who owns Wind Creek?
No.
An Alabama Indian tribe.
No, what are they called?
The Creek Indians. They call them Poarch. I think it's Poarch, Poarch Creek Indians. They have a casino down south of here, but it's not the right. It's more like a bingo. It's all slots. They run on those bingo rules instead of running on regular class 3 or whatever it is, class 1 or class 3, whichever one gives you the tables and all that.
I've been inside. I haven't gambled in there at all, though. It's about 45 minutes from me.
Do you ever go and play any of those? Or is it just pretty much AC?
Oh, yeah. I play at my local way more than I play Atlantic City.
Oh, what is it?
Valley Forge. It's a Boyd property.
Valley Forge. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a real small casino, like tiny casino. It's always funny. People in the group are like, we got to come out to Valley Forge. And I'm like, why? Like, what are you going to do there?
How many tables? 2?
4 tables.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
$10 game pretty much at all times. 12 footers, nice surface, really good surface, great crews. I've never had a bad crew there yet.
What town is that in? What city?
King of Prussia. It's right near the King of Prussia Mall. So that's what I tell people. Like, if you're going to come, you're going to hang out at the mall the whole time. It's like the second largest mall in America. There's plenty of stuff to do outside of the casino. The only problem with the casino for a lot of people is their table games don't open until like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. So there's no coffee runs there. You're not waking up and going to hit the craps table. If you're waking up, you're going to hit slots, and that's it.
What'd you say, King of Prussia?
Yeah.
That's the second largest mall in America. Isn't the first one the Mall of America in Minnesota?
Yep.
Know that because I'm
King of Prussia Mall is massive, man. I mean,
wow, King of Prussia.
It's funny, like you'll see people, you move your car to go to different stores because it's so big.
Have you won a lot at Valley Forge?
I do really well there. I'm down there this year for the year so far, but I've only played there 4 or 5 times and had some rough sessions, just nothing really going. But lifetime, definitely up there. I love their tables. They're really, really good.
Dice Degen, how did you even get into this game being in your 20s? How long have you been playing?
Since I was 21.
Jesus, dude. I wish I started then.
I got into it in Vegas. Me and my college buddies would plan a guys trip every year. We'd go somewhere. When we all turned 21, we wanted to go to Miami, right? So we were like, we're going to Miami. 2 days before we're going to Miami, massive hurricane's supposed to hit Miami when we're getting there. So, we're calling the travel people. We're like, hey, is there any way we could move this? Well, we want day clubs and we want like hot weather and girls. That's what we want.
Nice. I like it. I like
Hooterville.
Like
yeah. And they were like Vegas. And we're like, all right, let's go to Vegas. Like, yeah, let's do it. So we just changed our plans all of a sudden. We check into the Mandalay Bay because that's where we were staying. That's the only place we could really get a spot that short of notice because it was Labor Day weekend. We have this thing where every time we go, we all just toss 100 on black on the roulette table, no matter what. Like we don't even look at the wheel, just 100 on black. Everybody does it. It basically sets the tone. Are we going to have a good trip or are we going to have a bad trip?
Yeah, sweet.
So we did it, and my one buddy was like, my dad's been like trying to play craps. Like, let's go over to the craps table. I was like, all right. Like, I don't know what this game is. So we go sit down. We hit on black. So I take the $100 that I won on the roulette table, and I'm like, all right, buying in for that. We'll call it some fun. This is, easy come. If it easy goes, oh well. And we sit there, and there's a guy and his wife at the Mandalay Bay. Stick left 1, stick left 2. I'll never forget it. We buy in. We obviously have no clue what we're doing. And the kid with us was like 6 and the 8, and that's it. And the guy's like, they're not a bad bet. Well, an hour and a half later, his roll finishes. He tells us, just follow what I'm doing. And normally I'm not going to follow what you're doing type person. So I didn't follow him to a T because he was obviously betting a lot higher than I could afford with a $100 buy-in. So, I had minimum on the 6 and 8, took a couple hits. I was like, oh, okay. And then, I was like, all right, I'm going to go out to the 9, go out to the 5. And, we hit a good roll. His wife follows it up with like a 45-minute roll, turned that 100 into $1,000. And I was like, I like this game, but I didn't know what I was doing. So it's funny. So all my buddies were, getting ready to go out. I had a girlfriend, so I didn't really care, right? I got ready like that. I'm good to go. Let's go to dinner, and then we'll go to the club afterwards.
Yeah.
So we go to the club. They bring girls back. I'm kicked out of the room. So I'm sitting in the lobby on my phone watching YouTube on how to play craps. And I'm like, this is great. They finally get done doing what they're doing, and they're like, we want to go gamble. I'm like, boys, we got to go to the craps table. This is great. Like, I've been watching videos for the past 2 hours.
Sweet.
I'm like, I'm ready
Yeah.
to go. So that's how I learned. And then that whole weekend, I was just in my phone watching like craps videos, learning the math of craps. I've always been like a math guy. Now, I don't play like a math guy, but I love like numbers and stuff. So I was like, all right, I got to learn this. Picked up the game pretty quick. After that, I came home, told my dad about it. Then he started liking the game, and Bob's your uncle. I have a craps channel now.
That's awesome. Not a bad place to get hooked. Mandalay Bay was where I spent the majority of my, I guess, formative years figuring out the game. They used to have tons of tables, no complaints with the crews, all great. I mean, every now and then there's a grumpy dealer, but for the most part, that used to be a solid place to play craps.
Yeah, I mean, we liked it. And so I've always been a blackjack player, love blackjack. I still play blackjack. That's like my get right game when craps isn't going well. Always played roulette and blackjack. And I started hating roulette a lot. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So I was like, I'm going to switch to craps. And then obviously blackjack's always there in the background. And I'm, always playing blackjack.
Ed, do you have a get right game? A full-length extended version of this podcast is available exclusively on our Patreon page. New episodes drop weekly every Tuesday. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and will tell all of your fellow craps-playing friends about it. Please follow Casino Tears on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. If you like the show, please rate it 5 stars and leave a review. The best and most fun way to contact us would be to call and leave a message on our official Casino Tears vent line, 229-07. You can also email us at no7@casinotears.com. And lastly, to help support this podcast, you can visit our Patreon at patreon.com/casinotears. On behalf of Roll to Win Craps from Alabama and 10 Ton is #1 from Las Vegas, thanks for listening.